There's a 99% chance that you are not singing correctly. You may have been taught to sing like this. Open your mouth as wide as you can. Stick your tongue all the way out of your mouth. Tighten your abs while you sing, and open your throat, etc. All of this is incorrect information on how to sing, and it's probably making it so much harder to sing than it needs to be. So today I will explain to you how you should actually be singing, and by the end of this video you may notice how much easier it is to do so. Hi, my name is Lauren, and if you like what you hear in this video, I do offer online voice lessons which you can sign up for below. Sign up quickly because they do fill up fast. If you've ever taken voice lessons or choir, you've probably been told to open your mouth as wide as you can, open your throat, stick your tongue out, etc., etc. This is all BS vocal technique that was developed to accommodate the invention of the microphone. One day I'll dive more into this topic, but for now we're just going to kind of focus only on vocal technique. So how are we supposed to be singing? This book, How to Sing by Lilli Lehmann, has been my all-time new favorite book on the technique of singing. Lilli Lehmann was a famous opera singer from the late 19th century, early 20th century. Her technique on singing has been transformational for me as a singer, not just as a classical singer, but for someone who also belts and screams and sings riffs as well. I've enjoyed this book so much so that I've told every single one of my students to buy it and to read it themselves. Of course, the downside is that there's a lot of run-on sentences, but so it goes with literature that was written in the early 20th century. So in this book, Miss Lehmann spends about 3 pages talking about how to breathe and 146 on how to sing with correct vowel position. Yes, you heard me, how to sing vowels. Here's what she says about vowels. In the attack, the breath must be directed to a focal point on the palate which lies under the tone height, and now, uniting with its strength and depth, it is made to resonate in the strongly concentrated space formed by the relative position of the vocal organs. To this end are necessary a knowledge of all vowel functions, and a well-trained ear sensitive to all perfect vowels used in singing, not those that have become habit through the uncontrolled speech of the untrained, but those which the noble art of song demands. To go even further into the anatomy, she's talking about pure vowels, and what that means is that your vowels need to be so pure that they get your tongue the F out of the way. So here's what I mean. Here's your larynx, okay? It's a tube in your throat, right? And in your throat you have vocal cords, which is represented by my mouth right now, okay? Right, they vibrate as we sing. So imagine this is your vocal cords, okay? Your larynx, this is your larynx. And this is your tongue, okay? The tip of your tongue is the tip of my fingers, okay? So the other thing that's important to note about the tongue is that the tongue is pretty long. It doesn't just exist in the mouth, it also exists behind the mouth and down the throat, right? So here's our tongue, here's our larynx. This is what happens when you open your mouth as wide as you possibly can and stick your tongue all the way out and flatten it to the bottom of your mouth. What happens to your larynx? Go ahead and comment down below if you have a clue. If you don't, your larynx gets depressed. It reduces the flexibility, it makes it harder to sing. You might even feel like your voice gets stuck or like there's a wall and you just can't sing the notes you need to sing. So Lilli Lehmann's technique is to have the tongue, right, and position it in a way that creates so much space in the larynx that you don't even really have to think about how hard it is to sing, because it's not. So what are the vowels that will encourage forward tongue placement and a freedom in the larynx? According to Lilli Lehmann, those vowels are E, A, and U. Now we want to make sure we're not pronouncing them like E, A, and U. We'll go over how to actually pronounce them later, but for now, let's just keep kind of talking about the theory. Now you may notice there's a couple of vowels that are missing from this list, like ah and oo. Lilli Lehmann says you can scrap the whole idea that you know to be ah. Okay, she calls it, and I'm not even kidding, she calls it the root of all evil. And I can find the quote and I'll put it here so you can see. So why do we start with these vowels? So according to Lilli, she says that E creates a tone height, a tone carrier, and it also allows us to find our strong head voice. A creates a sense of strength and brightness. place determining vowel, and note line upon which the tone soars. And then oo creates tone depth, flexibility, covering, euphony, and chest resonance. And she also continues to say that when you blend all of these vowels together, you actually can find an ah that is perfect to sing on. We're not going to really talk about ah today just because, like she said, it's the root of all evil, and given that most of my viewers are American English speakers, you're going to create tension that it's just going to be too hard to get rid of. So we're just not going to talk about ah really at all today. Moving on, when it comes to identifying these vowels, Miss Lilli Lehmann says that we need to have a unit that binds these vowels together, and that unit is Y. Y, when produced with the tongue, not with the jaw, right? So ya 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 ya, not ya 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 ya, will help us move from one vowel to the next without collapsing the tongue back down onto the top of the larynx. So without further ado, let's move into how to position these vowels and how to sing with them. Before we begin, I do want to mention that when we place these vowels the way that they're supposed to be placed, internally it's going to sound very different from how your voice has sounded in the past, most likely. You are probably not going to like the way it sounds. It may sound pinched, it may sound nasally, it may sound shrieky. This is only to you. It's not going to be that way out in the room to other listeners, and here's why. Okay, here's my little handy dandy guy. Okay, imagine, I mean, obviously there's a tongue here, but we're gonna pretend my hand is the tongue again, okay? So when we sing with our tongue flat on top of the larynx, we create a ton of space in the head. So it might sound really nice and really smooth in the head because the acoustic chamber is huge inside the head. But we don't need our head to be the acoustic chamber. The acoustic chamber is in the room. Okay, so what's happening is that when we have this forward vowel placement, it limits the amount of space that's inside your head, so it's going to sound more pinched. But if you notice, the sound is going to go out into the room, which is how we want it to go. Okay, so now let's talk about E. When it comes to pronouncing all of these vowels, and especially E, if you go ahead and say E right now, even if we haven't discussed on how to actually pronounce it, you'll notice that your tongue has a very specific placement that's very unique in comparison to all of the other vowels that you know. So for example, E, the tip of the tongue should be right behind the bottom teeth. E. You might also notice that the sides of the tongue, or the razors of the tongue, are up by the top teeth. E. 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 Now the important thing with pronouncing these vowels is that the resonance shouldn't be in the throat. There's a couple different places that Lilli Lehmann talks about where they might exist, and they could exist either in the roof of the mouth, at the tip of the tongue, or on the nasal wall. If you've ever eaten wasabi before, that burn that you get in your nose, that's on the nasal wall. So sometimes when I'm singing, I like to think about imagining that wasabi burn as I sing. So those are the couple places that we'll find the resonance. So say E, and see if you can find that nasal wall. E. E. Okay? It sounds really shrieky in your head. It sounds really bright, very musical theatery. And this is the starting point to good resonance. So we're going to do yee, 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 yee. There's going to be a little bit of a smile that happens inside the mouth and outside the mouth. Let it happen. If you're a choral singer and you have been taught to sing like this, just give it a rest for a second and just kind of allow whatever natural muscular activation that's happening in the face to happen. So yee, 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 yee. And again, just kind of making sure those 3 points of the tongue are where they need to be, one, and also finding that wasabi burn sensation of the resonance. Let's do it. Ready, and yee, 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 yee. Something you might notice is that the higher you go, the more that you are going to want to... God, I just got a piece of hair in my mouth. You're going to notice that you're wanting to modify a little bit more. You might want to start going yay, 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 and we don't want to. We need to keep it strictly E. So a good way to make sure that you are doing that is to look at yourself in the mirror. Watch your mouth, watch your tongue. If there's any sort of opening of the mouth, or collapsing of the tongue, then that means that you are modifying. Keep it strictly E, okay? Let's keep going. E, how does it sound inside your head? Does it sound super nasally? Does it sound super shrieky? Does it sound super pinched? If so, you're probably doing it right. If you have any sort of tension happening in the throat, then that means that your tongue is actually falling down in the back. So double check, watch in the mirror, is your tongue in the right position? Okay, and those are the kinds of things that we need to pay attention to. Similarly, we need to also find that resonance, right? If the resonance is still in the throat, we need to kind of rethink of it being more in the front or the wasabi burn place, like I mentioned. Now the next vowel is A. The distance between E and A is incredibly minimal. You might even feel like you're saying the same word, or the same vowel rather. This is how we need to pronounce it. So any sort of distance we are creating between E and A is not a vertical distance. We're not going E-yeah, we're going E-yeah. E. Very minimal movement in the tongue, keeping those 3 points of the tongue where they need to be. We're gonna do E. Nice and slow. Take your time moving from one vowel to the next. Keep the resonance nice and forward. Let it feel like there's a giant marshmallow in your mouth. Let it feel like it sounds really pinched and gross and nasty. Just let it be. We're just kind of practicing this vowel placement. Ready, and Yee. So again, it should feel like there's so much energy sitting right at the tip of the tongue. And that is the case. You might feel like you should be tired, but you're just not. You can sing for hours this way. Your voice will stick out more, so when it comes to singing in a choir, we do need to modify it a little bit more. We can talk about that in another video. This is just strictly the beginning of how to sing without depressing the larynx. Now, when it comes to finding our chest voice, she's mentioned that we want to have ooh. So we have to be very careful about the way that we pronounce ooh, because if you're an American, odds are you pronounce it in the back of your throat. So we want to make sure that that ooh exists right on the lips. You should actually feel your lips buzzing. Ooh. It should also be very close to the vowel E. So what we're going to do is we're going to do E. Okay, and making sure that as we're moving from E to ooh, not only are the lips coming together into an ooh sound, but the Y is also helping us transfer from E to ooh. So almost like EU, okay? Finding the resonant space right here. Okay, let's try that. Ready, and one more for my low altos. I can't quite sing that low. These are the vowels that we always want to think of when we are singing anything. So the biggest question that I get from my students is like, great, it feels really great to sing these exercises, but how the heck do I apply these vowels to actual words that I have to sing? Especially English. English is one of the hardest languages to sing in with consistently good technique. And so what I do is I will take a piece of music. It could be any any song. It could be a classical aria, it could be a Paramore song, it doesn't matter. And I will sing it on E first, making sure, watching myself in the mirror, remember I said don't watch yourself in the mirror, making sure that we are not modifying that E at all. So as we go higher, we're not opening up into an A or an A. That E stays there, and we're just kind of letting it sound shrieky and weird, just to be able to find that good placement of the tongue. Then we can start to kind of rewrite words to make them align a little bit more as if they're blended with the vowel E or A, depending on what vowel you're using. So, for example, I had a student who had to sing the word had, which is a horrible vowel to sing up there, right? So what I had her think of is, instead of had or had, I had her think of haid. And it changed the trajectory of her resonance. It came out more, and it was easier for her to spin and to vibrate. So those are some things that you can do to take these vowels that we talked about and apply them to the things you need. So let's say you have to sing really low notes and it's a little bit lower than what you're comfortable doing. Take the ooh that we talked about and sing with that forward lip resonance. Ooh. I did this the other day. I'm a soprano, mind you. I don't sing below a G most of the time, but I was noodling around and I took this ooh vowel and I sang all the way down to there. So all of these vowels can really help your voice go where they need to go. Sometimes you're going to sing notes that are way too high. Sometimes you're going to sing notes that are way too low. These vowels will take you there. That's about it for today's lesson. If you want more on these vowels, comment down below. I will continue to make videos on it because I think everyone should know how much easier singing can be when using these vowels. In the meantime, I will see you next time.